when I leave them to set up their new networks, I'm going to introduce the new speaker, Jooste. I've invited him to speak to you today. So there's few people that really inspire and that I've heard speak so from their heart, from their gut, from their soul, from their passion. Nick is an entrepreneur. He's set up businesses. He's always been active in the field of trade, and he's developed a number of other concepts. If we can ask, yes. Okay, thank you. So Nick is South African, as you will immediately hear from the accent, but he's lived for over 30 years in the Netherlands, and that may have given him some boldness and some directness. But from that South African, of course, the other side of this continent. Can I ask the people to please sit? Can I ask you to sit, please? And then we can continue with the program. Yes. Yes. So the South Africa has its own share of challenges, and you'll hear how somebody who grew up there and who had the opportunity to set up business in the Western world, in Holland, and globally, how he's kept a passion of improving societies. And I think this is an example of trade with impact, doing your business at such a matter it's in such a way that it impacts society. The nice thing is that they're very active in Egypt. They're very active in the citrus industry here. So they're very tangible to you as audience to meet, to engage with, and to see what you can, how you can explore. But first, be inspired by Nick Jooste. Thank you.
Thanks, Tycho.
Give me one.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for allowing me to be here. My name is Nick Jooste. I'm a practical sustainability and marketing advisor. And my experience is in creating powerful CSR strategies that combine sustainability, marketing, communication, and I combine it with strong commercial business plans. So I'm really honored to be back in Cairo. I was here many years ago, which is one of the oldest agricultural lands in the world. Around 5000 BC, Egypt started farming with domesticated crops and animals like wheat and barley, sheep and goats from the Levant and Mesopotamia. And the ancient Egyptians actually created smart irrigation systems, such as basins and canals to handle the seasonal floods of the Nile. They used the river's flow to grow food and build one of the first organized and successful farming societies. But today, agriculture is not only about growing food. It's about growing trust, it's about growing respect, and developing systems that help nature rather than hurt it. And as I said, I'm a practical guy. I'm not here to use difficult words or speak in academic jargon. And what I want to share with you is what I've learned in 25 years of working across Africa and the Middle East and Europe. And the key to all of this, in my opinion, is that sustainability only works when it becomes part of your business plan, with clear purpose and good execution. So today we will talk about impact, but we will also talk about influence, because in today's world, just creating impact is simply not enough. And as agricultural people, we have to be the leading influencers of change, and we must show others what is possible in and through agriculture. Let's be honest, every farmer, every exporter, and every policymaker in this room knows that agriculture is facing serious challenges. Rain has become less reliable, salt in the soil is increasing, water shortages all over the world are part of daily life. Prices for fertilizers and fuel have doubled in some places. And many of the people that we rely on, our farm workers, are leaving the land to work somewhere else. And on top of this, the market is starting to ask tough questions. What is your water use? How much are you reducing emissions? Are you following new international food laws? Do you support women's rights? Are you helping rural communities? Buyers today don't just want products, they want purpose in your products. And that's a big change from what we have been used to. You see, for many years, we focused on passing audits and getting certificates. We paid for checks, or rather you paid for checks on audit reports, you filled out the forms, you passed the audit, and you sold your fruit. And that worked for a while, but now everything has changed. The main questions today, in my experience, are not anymore, are you certified? They are you trustworthy? And what real impact are you making? Because real trust does not come from a logo, a certificate on the wall, or a QR code. It comes from what you do in the field and what you do from the heart. It comes from who you hire, who you work with in your supply chain, how you treat your people. And leading buyers today, like Carrefour, Tesco, the European Commission, are moving from buying based on certificates to buying based on real results and real impact. And what I've seen is that they want partners who are using less water for each crop, who are switching to clean energy in transport, who are giving women and youth leadership roles, and who are restoring soil health. And that list goes on and on and on. But the good news is if you do these things, the buyers will choose you. They will pay better prices, they will stay loyal, because in the end, your sustainability story becomes part of their brand strength. I want to say it in a different way. Sustainability is becoming the reason why buyers choose you. It's why consumers want to buy your products, and it could very well be the key to your future. And while we're on the topic of water today, let's talk about the water, energy, food nexus. It's not a concept anymore. It's happening, and it's happening right here in Cairo. Here where we are today, people are talking about the center, being at the center of where water and energy and food come together. Because in Egypt, probably more than 80% of fresh water is used for farming. At the same time, you need electricity for pumps, for cold storage, for sorting stations. And in addition to that, food and food security are directly linked to national security. So the water, energy, food nexus has become much more than a theory. It's a key strategy, a key business strategy that can push forward change and success. And then what does it mean to think in terms of nexus? It means using drip irrigation instead of flood irrigation and cutting your water use. It means using power instead of diesel, clean power instead of diesel, reducing costs and pollution. But it also means growing cover crops and improving soil and keeping water in the ground. So the nexus doesn't make you choose between water or energy or food. It asks you to connect them. And when you match all of these principles of the water, energy, food nexus with what the market wants, you gain influence. And I want to talk to you today about a project that gives me real hope for this conceptual thinking that we are doing. It's a story of action, it's not theory, and it's called the Root Grow Cluster, and we're doing it right here in Egypt. Now, Root Grow is more than a cluster model. It means that we are sharing tools, that we are learning together, and that we are opening markets together. It's supported by the Netherlands Enterprise Agency, which helps cross-border cooperation. So within Root Grow, we bring together Dutch innovation from companies like Jaguar, the fresh company, Sweet Caroline, Bowman Fruit, Salt Doctors, eLeaf, and we combine it with Egyptian expertise from companies like MK Trading, Agroland, Bushido Nurseries, and the Graduate Villages Project. And in addition, we work with social support from local cooperatives. Now, with the help of Tycho Vermeulen and the Dutch Embassy, we also make sure that this project fits Egypt's and the Netherlands' goals in terms of food security, smart water use, and inclusive growth. Root Grow started with a simple question. Can we grow better crops with less water in salty soil while creating jobs for women and youth? And to execute this project, we brought together Dutch and Egyptian partners to tackle what we see as three big farming problems. Salty soil, which reduces productivity, excessive water use, which is too expensive, and the lack of opportunities for women and youth. Remember that Egypt is the world's top citrus producer and exporter, but that success can very easily be at risk. Because all over Europe, for decades, one old rootstock was used, Volkameriana, a rootstock that gives a lot of volume but low quality and is weak against disease. So added to what we have too much irrigation, and that is ruining the soil again. Climate change adds even more pressure. And what we are doing with Root Grow is to break the cycle by developing a new generation of rootstocks that produce better quality, use less water, and are good for the soil. At the moment, we are doing full trials in Beheira and Beni Suef with excellent results. And our first goals for the coming years is to plant 100 ferans of new high-quality mandarins, 500 feran of export-grade Tahiti lines, and producing 300,000 new trees from our nurseries. Now, you may ask, in a country like Egypt, which is used to farming oranges, why limes? Well, at the moment, Europe gets most of its limes from Brazil and Mexico. Mexico has grave problems with diseases in their lime production. So in this, Egypt has a big opportunity. Limes grow fast, they're healthy, and again can get into the European market quickly. So what we are doing with Root Grow is to help Egypt get ready for a new wave of citrus innovation. But our customers and our stakeholders are asking us for proof of these things that we do. So together with our partner eLeaf, we use satellite data to track salt levels in soil, to check how efficient water is used, how crops are growing, and we check the impact of other climate risks on our project. And this data-driven insight helps farmers make better choices and gives our buyers even more reason to trust us. And what we are doing at the end is we are turning promises into proof. And then we get to something which is very close to my heart. Root Grow is not about plants, not only about plants, it's also about people. We train women to manage nurseries, to lead businesses, to work the field and to understand what they're doing. We teach young people by doing, not in classrooms, but on the farm. We work with the Graduate Villages Project to build social impact into Root Grow. And by 2028, we want 35% of our Root Grow managers to be women. That's not just a goal, it's a new standard. It's our standard, one that we will achieve. But Root Grow is about better farming and also about systems change. Because when we look at all of this with Root Grow, we deliver climate results, we use less water, we emit less CO2, and we can grow fruit in salty soils. We bring economic value. With more and better crops come stronger export chances, with which we create better income levels. With social fairness, we help who we bring on board, with finance, training, and jobs for women and youth. So Root Grow is not just about growing fruit at all. It's about growing the future. And it's a future that Egypt can export with pride. And then when I look at all the people in the room, I can only conclude that there are solid reasons why you must lead this change. You as producers, as processors, as exporters. Because you don't just work in agriculture. You help shape the economy of Egypt. Ministries don't pick fertilizers. Universities don't plan irrigation. Consultants don't hire workers. You do that. So all of the change in Egypt should begin with you. And of course, government can set goals and give support, but it's business that must take action and must make things happen. And this is what I've seen in my work all over the world. When you build sustainability into your business, two things happen. Firstly, you become stronger against problems like economic upheaval and price shocks. You build a good name for yourself with your buyers, with your banks, with your team. And that's just smart business sense, which sustainability is really at the bottom of it. And then my favorite topic, when purpose gets personal. I've heard many excuses when I start talking about sustainability, with people saying it's too expensive, the buyers don't care, we'll just wait until it's compulsory. But all over the world, I've also seen real leadership in agriculture, with a farmer, for instance, planting regenerative cover between his citrus rows, not because he thought he was clever, but his daughter challenged him to help her save the world. I've also seen an exporter who changed his contracts in South Africa so that women-led groups can get preferred orders. I've seen logistics firms switching from to electric forklifts because they wanted their staff to be exposed to cleaner work environment. And in each of these examples, it started with conscience, not with compliance. It didn't start with a certificate, it started with people who wanted to change things. And these are the type of businesses that have become preferred suppliers to big groups. Because in the end, the most powerful thing in sustainability is a business that cares and an owner who understands the need for change. And so far we've talked about water and energy and food, but I have to add a fourth dimension to it, people. Because without human energy and teamwork, nothing lasting will come of any effort you put into it. And when you focus on people, it's not really difficult to make your business come alive. You just have to keep things simple and speak the language of normal people. Because remember, you cannot save the environment if you ignore the needs of the people. And I've seen great orchards fail because workers didn't know how to use drip irrigation properly. I've seen high-tech packhouses not reach their potential because key people were left out of decision-making. I've seen many young people quitting farm jobs because they saw no future. So I must make this point very strongly. Social sustainability is not charity. It's simply a smart use of your people. And again, it's really easy. You just have to speak to them and you have to speak their language. And to give you an example of some of the easy things we've done with great impact, in South Africa, we built 443 litter libraries that we installed on farms for the children of farm workers. And it purely started with giving children books who otherwise would not know what a book was. And all of a sudden they wanted to learn to read. What is in the book? What is the story? The school attendance started to rise. And girls who would previously have dropped out of school stayed longer. Because children love learning, and so you just have to give them the opportunities. And you have to start at a really young age. Another example is women taking the lead. It's a project we set up in South Africa where we trained 100 women in leadership skills using football as the basis. And in 18 months, many of them started running packhouses and being community leaders. We even took, I just want to go back to this slide. The lady in the middle started in my program in 2008, and she is now the national coach of Banyana Banyana, the South African national women's squad. And her work is taking young girls into leadership roles. She's inspiring them to do a lot more things. We even trained one of South Africa's biggest citrus packhouses, all of their supervisors, in leadership through football. And believe it or not, these girls over here were all playing football at lunchtimes and sharing ideas around leadership and how they can be stronger and how they can play football the same as men. So you can keep it very easy and it can be very powerful. Then there's the big question. How do you do all of this as a business? If your decision is that you want to make a change, if you want to move towards being a much more socially sustainable business, what do you do? How do you do it? I normally work on 5 phases. The first one is discovery. You have to find your own why. You have to understand, why am I doing this? What is my heart saying to me? Why should I do this? And if your heart is not saying anything to you, don't do it, because then it won't work. So you have to follow that route of discovery. Why do I want to do this thing with sustainability? Secondly, you have to get alignment within your team. You have to speak to all of your team members, tell them your dream, tell them your idea, and then get them to commit, because if they share your vision, then you can start working on it. You have to prioritize, because any company can easily come up with 5 or 10 things that they would want to do. My advice is take one, do it, and do it well. You have to implement, you have to just start the process, you have to start going, you have to test, you have to learn, and then you can improve. And you have to evaluate. You have to see what works, what doesn't, and you have to clean up your system. You have to share your wins and your losses with your team. And this is how we are growing with Root Grow. It's a cohesive effort, a cluster project where all people are learning from each other, sharing ideas, and looking at what is working and what not. This is how PepsiCo changed their supply chain. And remember, you don't have to do everything. Just focus on something and do it well. Ticho knows that in my other project, which is all about wildlife conservation, we have a very powerful saying about sustainability. We say, dream big, start small, but do it now. And then, as we wrap up, we get to the global context. We should look at the big picture. What we have been talking about and what you'll be talking about for the next couple of days, it's not just Egyptian issues, it's a global movement. Internationally, companies like Tesco, Carrefour, and Aldi are all asking their suppliers for climate data. PepsiCo and Walmart have invested $120 million in regenerative farming of their own projects. Koa in Ghana is turning cocoa waste into new products. And Majid Al Futtaim is tracking water and energy use in its suppliers. They don't ask their suppliers, are you green? They don't ask them, show me your certificates. They ask them, what is your purpose? And can you prove your impact? And most importantly, they ask them, how can your story make our brand stronger? So the big buyers today want inspiring partners who also protect their brand. Finally, I will close. We have to start growing more than just crops. At Root Grow, we are not just growing oranges. We are looking at growing systems. We are looking at growing dignity amongst people. We are looking at growing our influence. And remember one thing, Egypt does not need permission to lead the next phase of agricultural innovation. You have the land, you have the young people, you have the urgency, and most importantly, you have the wisdom of your ancestors, 5,000 years of agricultural history that you can use. So what you need now is business commitment. My advice, start growing more than crops. Start growing leaders, start growing change makers, start growing trust, and start growing a future that is worth exporting. As I said, my name is Nick Jooste. I would love to help. Just shout out, Shukran. Thank you.
Nick, thank you very much for this amazing challenge that you put for us, and very tangible, very approachable, and very real. With that, I'd like to, I can announce, as a good announcement, to have a cup of coffee. Yes, there's coffee here now, and we'll be back with the second program in, the organization. I'm taking the role of the organization now. So I'll give the floor back to you. Thank you for your attention. I'm hoping this was an inspiring session and definitely an inspiring presentation by Nick. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tichu. Thank you, Mr. Nick, for the inspiring session.